She's a part of the Odyssey family. BetMGM tonight, 7 to 11 Eastern Time weekdays and WFAN 660 on Sundays. Don't forget NBA podcast Heat Check with Trysta Krick, and she joins us now here in the GBag Nation on a good old-fashioned Mail It In Friday. Trysta, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the time very much. I got to come out of the gates, home of the Cowboys. Is there any part of Trysta Krick that would admit to being a Cowboys fan?
Yeah, I'd say I would say 95% of me would admit that. The 5% is the fact that the losing continues to persist, that Mike McCarthy is going to be being the play caller, and it's going to be running the ball with what running back, I don't know.
Okay, so you don't seem too optimistic about what I can say our Cowboys are going to be doing this season?
I just don't know, guys. As the league gets modernized and goes one direction, and Mike McCarthy wants to, be basically like Mike Zimmer, run the ball and play defense. I just don't know how that's going to work. I don't know why you would pay your quarterback and Dak Prescott all that money just to give the ball to somebody else. I know that his interceptions were way up last year, and that was a big source of contention, but I think he's a really good quarterback. I think giving him more weapons, not less, and having a scheme that fits him, I don't know. I'm just a little bit, I would say, pessimistic about Mike McCarthy in general.
Trysta, you and I share the same thoughts about Mike, and I know everybody here thinks I hate the man. I don't hate the man. I just have a lot of questions about the offense, and hopefully Brian Schottenheimer will help him. But let me ask you this, though. Is Dak Prescott unfairly treated in the media to you?
I think so, yeah. I think that Dak, because he's the quarterback of America's team, is held to a different standard than other quarterbacks. You look at and I like Jalen Hurts a lot, but Jalen Hurts, outside of last year, had a lot of question marks in regards to whether he could pass to both sides of the field. So we can't just put Jalen Hurts above Dak Prescott like very easily off of just one season and one bad season for Dak. And I think it's because of Dallas. I really do. I think he's much better than many pundits would say. I think Dallas in general is a punching bag for football fans. It kind of makes me sick. But it is what it is. You have to kind of continue to persist. I think he's built with really good something happened. I don't know if you guys heard the screen, but I think he's built with really good, his mental capacity for handling all that criticism is very high. He seems to have an amazing head on his shoulders. But, yeah, I would say so.
You're at the NBA Summer League things. Which one are you in? Vegas? Which city are you in?
I'm in Las Vegas.
How is that to cover? Do you get a lot? I think that would be great for all the connections that you have to talk about the stuff that you do for your shows.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's two gyms. So there's the Thomas and Mack, and then there's the Koch Center. They're essentially connected by a breezeway. You can watch either game. Right now you got New Orleans and Minnesota that's playing in the small gym, and I think maybe it's Milwaukee and Denver playing in the big gym. I can't tell. I haven't gone to the big gym yet. So yeah, you've got every GM of every team, not just walking around these gyms, but walking around every hotel on the Strip. I had a nice long conversation with the former GM of the Portland Trailblazers last night, talking about all this Dame drama. So yeah, I think from a connection standpoint, it's great, but for a basketball standpoint, it's really great too. You get to see some of the guys who are going to really shape the league moving forward, right? Like Scoot Henderson plays tonight. I believe he plays at 4. So it's Houston versus Portland, and you're going to see maybe 4 guys who are going to become some of the major, faces of the NBA in the future. You would hope. You got Amen Thompson, you got Jabari Smith, you have Scoot, and you got Shaden. So, yeah, I think from a basketball standpoint, it's elite. But in terms of seeing the people that maybe you don't see all year because they're not all together, it's kind of a convention too.
Odyssey's own Trysta Krick joining us here in the GBag Nation. You can check out her NBA podcast, Heat Check with Trysta Krick. She is out in Vegas for the NBA Summer League right now. So are you going to get to watch Wemby's debut?
I am. So they sold it out. 17,500 tickets have been sold for what is essentially an exhibition event. You walk in right before you enter the front doors, and there's like 30, 40 scalpers there just scalping tickets to come see Wemby. So, yeah, I'm going to go see it, but it's going to be insane. Probably the most packed environment that we've had for Summer League. Maybe ever. Probably ever.
Yeah, this one's huge. I mean, sold out. I saw tickets. Somebody spent close to $900 to have a pretty good seat for a Summer League game, which is pretty insane. Now, what are your expectations, Trysta, for year one Wenbanyama? Are you taking any season-long over-unders? I believe his points is set for like 17.5 points on the season. You making any Wemby bets?
You know, I think that Wemby's going to be a really good NBA player, but you see, and I watched this when he played in his final game in France, you can see that even with his height, his slight frame does affect him when it comes to how other players are able to defend him, right? And his hops aren't exactly out of this world, so he got blocked, I think, 3 or 4 times in that final game. I think the bodies in the NBA game will certainly be an adjustment for him, just like they are for Chet. I think there's going to be a similar adjustment for both of those guys going to the next level, because are they 5s? Like, are they 4s? Can they defend more athletic, faster, rangy 4s if you play them at that position? It's going to be really fascinating to watch. I don't think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I think I'd probably give that to either Scoot. Now that Dame is asked out, I think Scoot is probably my favorite pick for Rookie of the Year. But in terms of points per game, I do like the over 17.5. He's going to get a lot of usage, and the Spurs aren't going to be very good. They are going to be super fun.
Trysta, when you look at our Dallas Mavs here, I know you do a lot of work on TikTok and stuff like that with the clips and stuff, and and just kind of keeping up with you that way. Where do you find the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA pecking order going into this upcoming season?
I think they got better, but ultimately this is not a contending team at this moment, right? You do what you can do. You operate at the fringe, and they didn't have a ton of cap space outside of, once you signed Kyrie Irving, the amount that you could go out and what you could do. Trying to get Matisse Thybulle, that was obviously would have been a great pickup because defense on the perimeter was so needed. I feel like Tim Hardaway Jr. will get moved. You do move on with Davis Bertans, so that was huge. And you still get Derek Lively, and you needed a rim protector. So it feels kind of like there's at least a direction, whereas last year it didn't. But truthfully, I still think that this is a play-in team.
Trysta Krick with us here in the GBag Nation. So what did you learn about the Damian Lillard situation?
So, the thing is, Dame has got one destination in mind, right? According to his agent. The problem with that to me is that implicitly will limit your leverage and what you can get done. When the Miami Heat know that that's the only place that Damian Lillard will play, what incentive do they have to give you their best offer? It's basically, we can give you dog caca with some, cherries and whipped cream on top, and you have to take it because what else are you going to do? I think Dame probably and his team should have told Jody Allen, the owner of the Blazers, and Joe Cronin, the GM, quietly, hey, I need to be moved, and these are the places that I want to go. But last year, here at Summer League, actually, he signed a 4-year max deal, putting him at $63 and $64 million when he's 35 and 36 years old. And he said to the team at that point, after they drafted Shaden, listen, I want to be a Blazer for the rest of my life. Sign me to a long-term extension. I'll even take a trade kicker, increase the price of my salary. If you trade me somewhere else, I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to be here. And then a little less than 12 months later, he's saying it's only the team that just went to the final is where I'll go. I think it's bonkers. According to what's going on with people that I'm talking to, Joe Cronin's going to make this last as long as it takes in order to get a good deal. Maybe this thing stretches all the way into the season. And you know what? Who cares if Damian Lillard doesn't play? Why? Because this team is tanking. It's better that he doesn't play.
Trysta, you're from Portland, and so you kind of take this personally. Though, is Cronin does he owe Dame anything, or does he owe himself just to try and get the best damn deal he can make? I mean, they don't owe Dame anything to try and move him right to Miami. Is that? I mean, as a Portland native, do you feel like, are you mad at Dame for what's going on right now?
I think the first level is an understanding that Dame wants to move on, and that's fine. And he should want to move on. This team is rebuilding, and they rebuild it just like the Green Bay Packers did by drafting Jordan Love, and you knew that the writing was on the wall, right? So I understand that as a fan. But for Joe Cronin, he's only been in this job 18 months. So what responsibility does he have? He has a responsibility to the fans to put a product on the court that's going to be competitive and fun in the future and not just right now. He's got a requirement and a responsibility to the players that are still on the team to get them draft picks and players back that they can compete with down the line. And then he's got to do the right thing for the franchise, because this is the best player that the Blazers have had in a very long time. It's probably the number one asset that they've had since the number one overall pick in 2007, which could have turned into Kevin Durant. So if you're not getting anything back and you're Joe Cronin and you've been in this job 18 months, you're setting yourself up to be fired. That's just plain and simple. The responsibility to Dame and to get Dame to his intended destination only goes so far, and it really goes less far after he asked out when there were no real trades to be made because free agency had already begun, extensions had already been signed, so players can't be traded now until at least the deadline. And they signed Jeremy Grant to a $170 million deal over 4 years, making him one of the most overpaid fours in the league. So it's kind of like, all right, we'll trade you, but we still have to get the best deal that we can. And now all of the tomfoolery from his agent telling other teams that he's not going to go anywhere else. We already know what time it is with Dame Lillard. We know what type of player he is. He's not James Harden. He's not going to sit out. It would be very counter to his character if that took place.
Trysta, you're involved with that mixer in New York, when knowing all those sports teams as well. What at the Rangers, the Texas Rangers here, we're trying to focus on trade deadline stuff. What are you hearing about the Mets? Are they legitimately going to move on from some of these pitchers, and would they consider dealing in, potentially starters to the Texas Rangers if they could?
That's a great question. What the Mets, as far as I understand from Steve Cohen's perspective, what he wants to do is he wants to build through the farm system. That's the best way to build a winner long term, organically, right? But he's the richest guy in Major League Baseball, so he's going to, in the meantime, spend on positions of need, which happen to be those two pitchers, right? Scherzer and Justin Verlander. So I don't think he's going to move on from them. I think he's happy to spend the money in the meantime while trying to build something organically. I do not see the Mets being sellers at the deadline, though. I know that that's probably sad for Rangers fans, but ultimately, do you really want another Mets pitcher?
Yeah. It's a good point.
yeah,
good
no
point.
question about that. We are desperate times, though, Trysta. I will say this pitching staff, this bullpen, everything right now starting to fall apart at the seams heading into All-Star Week, and we're grasping at straws. We're trying to fix this problem, and maybe a guy like Scherzer could, but we've had another problem here locally over the last couple of years: the physical condition of our guy Luka Doncic. Now, he just got down on one knee and proposed to his lovely girlfriend. She said yes, he will be getting married, I imagine, sometime in the next year. Now, I made the argument, Trysta, that was going to be good for the physical physique of our guy Luka, because now he's got the stability. He's going to be more regimented, and he is going to be trying to be in tip-top shape for wedding season. My guess is this is going to be the best physical version of Luka we get. Would you agree or disagree? Because the texters are telling me I'm way wrong, and as soon as you get married, you get larger generally.
So you think it's going to be a short-term shredding for the wedding season? I don't know.
At the very least.
So here's what I think about Luka. It kind of feels like every year Luka's in the best shape of his life. It's kind of like Ezekiel Elliott. Every year Ezekiel Elliott is in the best shape of his life. I've seen 4 straight years of tweets and videos of that. I don't see Luka Doncic taking his physique seriously. He's just so talented. That's going to be a key piece, I think, for his longevity moving forward. But yeah, ankle issues, knee issues are something very, very concerning to me if I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan. So no, I don't think Luka's going to be like losing significant amount of weight for his wedding season, though.
Okay, another swing and a miss for me. It's okay. I appreciate you, Trysta. Thank you so much for giving us some time. Enjoy Vegas and enjoy Wemby's debut.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, guys.